How is this book gonna wrap up? I don't even recall exactly which chapter we were on. It's gotta be, I know we were 4 chapters away from the end. There's 50 chapters in Genesis. So that means it's 47. The channel's been up for a couple weeks now, so I am getting used to managing both the actual, there's all stuff I didn't think about before I started or didn't fully consider how much time it would take. Watching the actual channel, replying to comments is like a regular thing now. Even though it's only been 2 weeks, I think what did I say a week ago? I was at like 50 subscribers. Now it's a week later, I'm 2 weeks in, and it's like 70 something. I'll take another screenshot and put it in here. So it's weird jumping between where this channel started and then where I am in the story. I have to like kind of reorient myself and find where I am. The last thing that happened is that Joseph's brothers got to Egypt, right? That is what happened. Jacob goes to Egypt. That was 46, so 100%. And Joseph was like, don't emphasize the shepherd part very much. Egyptians don't like that. Also, they don't like Hebrews. I think that's where it all left off. Not on a great note, but it's in the middle of the story. There's no new title. It's just a chapter starting in the middle of this giant paragraph, this giant part on the page here. So where we pick up is Joseph went and told the Pharaoh, my father and brothers, with their flocks and herds and everything they own, have come here from the land of Canaan and are now in Goshen. So Joseph's making his case for his brothers being lifelong shepherds. Hey, don't hate. They're going to make Egypt better. They might not be Egyptian. They might specifically be Hebrew. But don't be prematurely judgmental. Just because you don't like most Hebrews and shepherds doesn't mean my brothers are bad. He chose 5 of his brothers and presented them before Pharaoh. Oh, good. You, not you, definitely not you. You, Reuben, you're in. Reuben, you're good. You're smart, you're attractive, you're the firstborn. Get in here. Benjamin, not mature enough. You are my brother. I love you the most. But you got a little baby face that no one's going to take seriously. Pharaoh asked the brothers, what is your occupation? The brothers are like, that's exactly what Joseph prepped us for. Your servants are shepherds, they replied to Pharaoh, just as our fathers were. Nice and nice. Standard way of handling families until like 100 years ago. They also said to him, we have come to live here for a while. Just so you know, this is not a short-term thing. We're not renting, we're buying. We're going to purchase some time here in Egypt for a bit. Because the famine is severe in Canaan, and your servants' flocks have no pasture. So it is actually, that's a very practical reason. It's a good reason. It's not just for fun. We have to be here because there's no food where we are. So now, please let your servants settle in Goshen. Where's Goshen been this whole time? We've talked about all these different areas all around, like near Egypt and around Canaan. Where's Canaan? This whole time, I've just pictured it being like, I don't know, somewhere up in like Israel or something. In which case, that would have been quite a journey they were making back and forth when they had to go get Benjamin. Pharaoh said to Joseph, your father and your brothers have come to you, and the land of Egypt is before you. Settle your father and your brothers in the best part of the land. How generous, how coincidental that the best happens to Joseph despite open racism from Egypt. Let them live in Goshen, and if you know of any among them with a special ability, put them in charge of my own livestock. Special ability makes it sound like it's a video game or something. Well, Levi has super speed, but Issachar can make animals bend to his will. Then Joseph brought his father Jacob in and presented him before Pharaoh. Here you go. After Jacob blessed Pharaoh, the Pharaoh asked, how old are you? I guess Pharaoh's not really about propriety. I once asked a police officer how old he was. Got pulled over for speeding. It was some guy who was clearly in his 20s, but like looked like early 20s. I thought it'd be a cool talking point. Oh, hey man, how old are you? It was not a good talking point. Guy had a chip on his shoulder. He was also pretty small in stature, so apart from looking young, he was also a tiny little police officer in the police force. So you could just read the insecurity throughout his body language. And he had this name, I can't remember what his first name was, his last name was something like Goober Wine. Something just begging for you to make jokes about it. And you might be like, oh, don't disrespect the police. This guy was like a huge D-bag. Like he came up hostile to the window, and then the age question made it so much worse. He took me from just speeding, and I think he had something else on there. It was like speeding, and then he added some other thing, but then he added 2 more things. It's like, I don't remember how the law works in America. This was in Dallas. No, I think his name was like Weinenberg. Weinenberger. It was something, yeah, that's what it was. It was like Weinenberg or Weinenberger. It was a young guy. This is 2017, so it's 8 years ago. If you're in Dallas and you know a police officer who would now be around the age, he told me he was 24 at the time. So right now he must be like 31, 30 or 31, somewhere in that range, early 30s. Officer Weinenberger, you were the worst police encounter I've ever had in my life. It was like a stereotype for how bad police officers are. It was right outside of Dallas. It was in the Dallas, DFW, Fort Worth area in Texas. I want someone who's watching the channel and happens to know this guy to help deliver the message. That was one of the worst police experiences I had in my life. You turned what was supposed to be one ticket into a reckless driving, which is like a higher category of crime for anyone who's not from America. And it made my life so much worse. It wasn't just like a $500 to $600 ticket. It's also classified differently in the legal system, like a misdemeanor. I think that's what it is, a misdemeanor. I did end up hiring a lawyer who was able to help like knock some of the tickets down. He took 2 of them off and it took away the misdemeanor charge. But the guy did it just because he was like angry at the stop. And you know what I will say? I'll add this to the story. When he asked, why were you going that fast? I decided to be honest. I've always like tried to downplay things, and that feels kind of like sneaky and roundabout. I was like, you know what? I'll just tell him the truth. And I said I felt comfortable at that speed. And it wasn't like an insane amount over. I think it was like a 65. I guess we could look up the ticket. I mean, it may be more like egregious than I'm describing it. But I think it was 65 miles per hour outside of Dallas on a highway. I was going like 81. So I was like 15 or 16 miles over, which is a decent amount. It's not like a small amount. That's a lot over the speed limit. And I said, yeah, I just felt comfortable with that. And I'm speaking like this, by the way. I'm speaking in the tone that I'm speaking now. I wasn't angry. I wasn't being loud. I wasn't being aggressive in any way. I would kind of just lifted my hands at the steering wheel and I was just comfortable at that speed. And he goes, you were comfortable? You were comfortable at that speed? You know I can arrest you right now, right? I remember that so clearly. He goes, you know I can arrest you right now, don't you? And I was like, I mean, yeah, sure. Drew, you are an officer. I'm aware that you have like legal, like governmental authority. What am I supposed to say? I was like, yes. Like that had to be a response. Anyway, he is what gives police officers bad reputations. I still remember it 7 years later. Anyway, Pharaoh asked Jacob, how old are you? Forgot that's where all this started. And Jacob said to Pharaoh, the years of my pilgrimage are 130. Does that mean he's just been walking around for 100? Does that mean he's not 130 years old? Is that what he means when he says pilgrimage? This is a weird time to be poetic. My years have been few and difficult, so it must be 130. They do not equal the years of the pilgrimage of my fathers. That's interesting. So he knows that his fathers lived way longer. I wonder how long he's going to live. Didn't Isaac die at like 150? Then Jacob blessed Pharaoh and went out from his presence. So he blessed him 2 times. That was the second time he did it. I don't know why he did it again. Blessing on the way in, blessing on the way out. So Joseph settled his fathers and his brothers in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land. I wonder what constitutes the best part of the land in this time. Just like the most productive, the one with the most food, where you can sustain the most animals? Or does it just like have a nice view of the pyramids? The district of Ramses. Wow, didn't realize we're talking about Ramses, like the Pharaoh Ramses. He's like the only Pharaoh people know the name of. Except Cleopatra wasn't a pharaoh, was she? No. They didn't let women rule, didn't they? People only know the name Ramses, and they only know the name Cleopatra. From ancient Egypt, that's the only one people know. Unless you actually studied it, unless you're a nerd. Actually, I love nerds more than normal people. I think it's way more interesting to be nerdy about something than to not have interests. He set him up in the best part of the land, the district of Ramses, as Pharaoh directed. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food, according to the number of their children. Thanks for that detail, man. I'm glad that you thought we might be confused about the fact that they had no food. Be confused no more. Joseph set them up with food, so they would not starve. So now we get our next title. This is still chapter 47, but there's a title inserted in the middle, Joseph in the Famine. I kind of thought that was clear. From the context of everything we've read so far, I don't know why that title is necessary. We know there's a famine. We know we're following Joseph. There was no food, however. Okay, so it sounds like another author just continued this story. Like we're playing that game where one person says something and the next person continues. Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food. There was no food, however. But then there wasn't any food in the whole region because the famine was severe. Yep, that's what we know. Thank you, Genesis chapter 47. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of their famine. That's intense wording. Not funny. Famines are horrible. I mean, they don't happen so much today. They've happened in history. If you look up, I know a recent one, like we all know the Irish potato famine. There is the famine in India caused by, according to Reddit, it was caused by Churchill in World War II. Winston Churchill withholding food for his own army. We all treat Winston Churchill like a hero. or kind of portray him this way in the West. But apparently withheld food from starving Indians and let like 2 to 3 million people die. And it wasn't like the main food that the British Army was eating, it was reserves of food. So it's food they technically didn't even need. It was just in case they ran out of their main food, and they withheld that from Indian people and let millions of people die. Yeah, don't dig into the history of whoever's side you're on in any war, because pretty much everyone is terrible. People in the United States like, we stand for freedom and justice. They commit some of the worst crimes against humanity in all of history. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan in payment for the grain they were buying, and he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. Here you go, Pharaoh. Here's all the money I took from our starving citizens. When the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was gone, okay, so I guess it's instantly gone, all Egypt came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is all gone." That got political real fast. Didn't take long for the people to rise up. "Then bring your livestock," said Joseph. "I will sell you food in exchange for your livestock, since your money is gone." That seems like a bit of a leveraged trade on Joseph's part. Wasn't he the one spending the money? He collected the money and then he spent it and it's gone. But now he's like, give me hard assets. Give me living live. That's why it's called livestock. The stock's alive. So they brought their livestock to Joseph and he gave them food in exchange for their horses. So he's sitting on like a hoard of food. He's got all the food there and he's like, if you want to live, give me your animals. Their sheep and goats, their cattle and donkeys, and he brought them through that year with food in exchange for all their livestock. Sounds like Joseph's not having a bad time at all. He's sitting pretty throughout this famine where everyone's forced to exchange their goods on his conditions. When that year was over, they came to him the following year and said, "We cannot hide from our Lord the fact that since our money is gone and our livestock belongs to you, there is nothing left for our Lord except our bodies and our land." Let me understand this sentence correctly. We can't hide the fact from our Lord, meaning Joseph. They're doing the thing where they call him, they were speaking like the third person again. Yeah, I'm going to translate this in like normal speech. We can't hide from you the fact that since our money is gone and our livestock belongs to you, there's nothing left for you. Okay, except our bodies in our land. So they're saying, hey, we've given up our money. We don't have any more money. We don't have any more livestock. We can't hide the fact that it's just us now. It's just our bodies and our land. Why should we perish before your eyes? So they're coming back with the same argument, which is a fair argument. I mean, they're like, why should we die while it sounds like the wealth gap of today. Why should we be in these conditions while you're getting fat off of riches and food? Why should we perish before your eyes? We and our land as well. Buy us and our land in exchange for the food. We with our land will be in bondage to Pharaoh. Give us seed so that we may live and not die, and that the land may not become desolate. This doesn't really seem like negotiation so much as desperately wanting to survive. And this is all being written from the side of defense to Joseph. It's just like, look, the people, they did what they did. They wanted to sell themselves and their land to Pharaoh. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt. There couldn't just be like, oh, we'll keep you guys alive because otherwise we don't have an economy. Egypt stops functioning if you all die. So here's some food. Like, it's good for the state if he gives them food. Are we going to act like there's zero chance that Joseph was like, sell me your body. Sell me your body, sell me your land, then you can live. But the author's like, the people wanted to sell themselves and their land. They were on the verge of death, but they wanted it. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. The Egyptians, one and all, sold their fields because the famine was too severe for them. I don't feel like this paints Joseph in a good light. I mean, definitely not the Pharaoh. I wouldn't expect him to be like kind either. Like, the reason I'm harping on this so much is because we talk about like God and Christians being like generosity being like the core fundamental value, and like love, generosity, kindness from God. God could just, there's food now. He does it later in the Bible. Jesus breaks bread and fish and multiplies it by the thousands to keep people's stomachs full. For some reason in this story, God's like, it's a famine. I'm sorry, guys, you're going to have to make do. Nothing I can do about it. Famine's going to famine. The land became Pharaoh's, and Joseph reduced the people to servitude. Nice wording, reduced the people into servitude. They were independent before, but Joseph reduced them to servitude, from one end of Egypt to the other. Joseph made everybody slaves. However, We got a however. What's this going to be? He did not buy the land of the priests because they received a regular allotment from Pharaoh and had food enough from the allotment Pharaoh gave them. That is why they did not sell their land. Okay. But the priests were fine. That's why you should become a priest. Not only can you abuse your own community, you'll be better off when things get hard. And you'll be better off when things get hard. Joseph said to the people, now that I have bought you and your land today for Pharaoh, here is seed for you so you can plant the ground. Now that you're mine, here's a few seeds. This is what you sold your life for. Here you go. Enjoy growing carrots in servitude. It all belongs to me anyway. But when the crop comes in, give 1/5 of it to Pharaoh. The other 4/5 you may keep as seed for your fields and as food for yourselves and your households and your children. So not only have you sold yourselves to me, what I'm giving you in return is going to be taxed. 20% tax on the trade. You have saved our lives, they said. May we find favor in the eyes of our Lord. We will be in bondage to Pharaoh. This does not sound like the reaction of normal people. Who in their right minds goes up to the man who's hoarding all of the person in a place of governmental authority, holding all of the resources, and then thanks him for what he's done for them? I don't know. I'm suspicious. It's very, very easy for an author or a historian to just write down that the people said, thanks, Joseph. Thanks for allowing us to sell ourselves into servitude and then get taxed 20% on the trade that you've created for us. I don't know, just a little skeptical on that one. So Joseph established it as a law concerning the land in Egypt, still in force today, that 1/5 of the produce belongs to Pharaoh. I guess still in force at the time this was written. I don't know what the distance was between Joseph and the writing of this account. It was only the land of the priests that did not become Pharaoh's. Nice. Making sure to echo that again, just so everybody got it. Priests are fine, everyone else screwed. Now, the Israelites settled in Egypt in the region of Goshen. They had acquired property there and were fruitful and increased greatly in number. Jacob lived in Egypt 17 years. So he must be, how old was he before? 130, so he's like 147 now. And the years of his life were 147. Yep. When the time drew near for Israel to die, oh, that's what he meant by we said Israelites earlier, so I guess, yeah, sons of Israel, okay. When the time drew near for Israel to die, he called his son Joseph and said to him, if I have found favor in your eyes, put your hand under my thigh. Here we are again. Just like Jacob put his hand under the thigh of Isaac, Joseph is now putting his hand under the thigh of Jacob. And promise me that you will show me kindness and faithfulness. Do not bury me in Egypt, but when I rest with my fathers, carry me out of Egypt and bury me where they are buried. God did say to Jacob a few chapters ago, not only will you be able to see Joseph again, he will be the one to close your eyes when you die, and you'll be returned to Canaan. I assumed he would return to Canaan alive, but maybe it's just as a corpse. I will do as you say, he said. Swear to me, he said. Then Joseph swore to him. And Israel worshipped as he leaned on top of his staff. That was interesting. I keep thinking there's going to be these chapters where it's like, it's boring, boring, boring. And maybe I'm just setting myself up for terror whenever we get further in here. I've already talked about it a few times. We're on page 71. I can't believe that. So much Bible done. But yeah, it was a pretty cool little story there. And a nice resolve for the arc of Jacob and Joseph. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Dark. I'm in the middle of watching Dark on Netflix. It's an excellent show. Way more entertaining than this. I mean, I try to make this entertaining for all of us. The wow factor is, hey, these are almost the same brown as my boots. This one's a little light. What color is in the Bible that's missing from the... Is this orange? Is it orangeness? Hang on. My legs are too long. Hey, here we go. What is... Maybe it's more red? I don't know color theory. So if you're a graphic designer... Comment down below what makes this brown different from boot brown. There's some of the light, just so you can hear it. Yeah, there we go. There's double light for both objects. We're almost done. 3 more chapters. See you guys for chapter 48.